Welcome to mid-October 2024 Dayton, Nevada housing market update. So we're starting to see a little bit of shift as the election gets closer. We do tend to see a little bit of a slowdown in real estate until the election is completed. So after November 15th, we should start seeing things start to change. But of course, that is when we start getting to our holiday season, and that has an effect on real estate as well. So right now, we've been seeing prices stay pretty steady across the entire region. Dayton is absolutely included in that as well. So we'll jump into the data here. So let's jump into median sales price. So right now it's currently at 438. It is up a little bit this time last year. And you can see how there's less volatility this year than last year. See on the right-hand side, hasn't moved as much as it did on the left-hand side. So what that means is probably more the same type of home. Anytime I start seeing less volatility, it's normally types of homes. There's more of the middle of the road, track home, neighborhood style property selling versus some maybe on the ponds and the golf course that sell for higher prices. So we're starting to see a lot tighter range. So right now you can expect to be in the lower 400s, on the higher side, middle 400s if you're currently buying stick-built homes in Dayton. And you can see it's holding pretty steady. When I see those trend lines, you factor in inflation, things like that, really not a big change in the real estate market in Dayton. It's holding pretty flat, and we expect that to be that way for some time. Mortgage rates have gone back up a little bit, so it's not like prices are skyrocketing. If rates really did drop, we'd see a lot of buyers enter the marketplace. They're holding about the same as they've been all year. There was some speculation about the mortgage rates dropping once the federal rates started there dropping, but it didn't really happen. We had a little bit of an adjustment about 2 months ago, but it's been holding pretty steady ever since. Little bump up this week, but it's still holding around the same as it has been for the entire year. Moving over to closed units. So this is still some of the closing data from our summer months. Now we're really starting to get into all of the closings after this or since school has been started. So we'll start seeing some of those seasonality changes here soon. But you can see overall it's been pretty steady. I mean, if you look at the trend line starting in about July, it actually has increased a little bit with that volatility. You can see the downward trend kind of began right around the beginning of November and went all the way down into the new year on the left-hand side there. But if you look on the right-hand side, it's actually been increasing, but we do expect it to start to come down as we enter the holiday season. Now we're coming into an election period right now as well. So I do anticipate that to start to calm down. We are far enough along into the year, into the fall season. I mean, gosh, Thanksgiving is less than a month away, about a month away. So a lot of those holiday seasonalities are going to start kicking in. Haven't seen it just yet on these charts, but as 30 days goes on, remember with closing sales, that's activity that happened a month prior, 2 months prior. So we're seeing those effects. Now you're going to start seeing some of those changes in the market as fall buyers come in, the summer buyers have left the marketplace. You'll start seeing a lot of these seasonalities come up on these closed unit reports. But right now, 10 homes sold last week. You can see it's holding pretty steady. We had a couple of bigger months in season, upwards of 15, but overall, anywhere it's between 5 and 10 homes a week sell in the Dayton market. A busy week for Dayton's about 15. Let's jump over to pending units. So right now, 8 units this week. Barely any movement last year, but you also saw some volatility last year. And that's always the week over week data, especially in smaller towns like Dayton. But overall, you can see about 5 to 10, just like the closed units. But notice how we're not seeing that downward trend. So it's kind of up and down and up and down. So we're holding pretty steady. Now that some of that could be just the backlog, like we talked about, there's a housing shortage. So that can make things not behave in a seasonal fashion. But you saw that on the left-hand side there during the holiday season, it starts really getting about 5 units and below, anywhere between 2 and 5 units a week. We're still upwards in the 5 to 10s a week. So I wonder if, in these next couple 60 days, that we're going to start seeing that slowdown in pending units. Right now, it hasn't happened. You can see on the left-hand side that we had a slowdown even in September. So we are busier this year than last year in the Dayton market. A lot more folks are in the marketplace. Also, that could be too that new constructions homes are a part of our realtor MLS. That could change the data as well, because there was definitely new construction homes selling at a very strong pace last year, but it is possible they weren't a part of our MLS, so the data wasn't showing up. So a lot of that can add into our stick-built residential home data, but you can see overall it is up from this time last year. I know it says 300%, but really we were about 2 to 5 units a week this time last year. Now we're in the 5 to 10 units this time. And I'm not seeing slowdown. So that means seasonality hasn't kicked in, even though, like I mentioned, I would think we're within about a month to 2 months of starting to see seasonality kick in before the new year. But you never know. If interest rates are acceptable to buyers, a lot of times, holiday is just 1 week. So a lot of times they'll time their purchases around that 1 week of holiday and juggle all of the dates accordingly so that they can celebrate but still carry forward with their home purchase. That very well could happen this year. We'll see. Median days to contract, very consistent with this time last year, about 50 days to find a buyer for a home. This time last year, now we're about 46, right about the same right now. And you can see it's just kind of holding. We had a big jump up. That was probably one property that sold, or a couple properties that sat on the market and sold. That's why that big spike was there. But skipping that big spike on the right-hand side, right now it's still sitting around the 35 to 55 days on the market. And remember, this is days to contract. So I don't do days on market because who knows how long a property sits under contracts. I don't really like that data. I use how many days does it take to get an offer that's acceptable to a seller. That's this data. So right now, the median number is 46 days to be on the market and find an acceptable buyer for a listing. So keep in mind on that too, right? Because if you're in like those 21, 28 days, the median days on market's 46. Just because it's been sitting longer than a couple of weeks doesn't mean another buyer's not interested. So make sure that when you're writing offers, always chat with the listing agent, see if there's other interest on the property, because it is not uncommon right now for properties to be in the market a month and then 2 buyers are interested in its multiple offers. So just don't always assume because it's sitting that you're the only buyer you can offer super aggressive. Learn the competition. If it's just you, great strategy to start asking for help with interest rates, start asking for different purchase prices, but always call the agent first because you never know, there could be somebody else interested as well. Active inventory. So this is where you can see starting the absorption rate getting faster than new listings hitting the market, because you saw that pending units were steady. But if new listings aren't hitting the marketplace, then that's going to make overall inventory go down. And that's what we're seeing right now. So the peak of inventory, the largest selection of homes occurred about the end of July, and it has been going down ever since. So this is where that kind of that seasonality kicks in. So buyer seasonality behavior, we're not really seeing it right now, right? It's holding level. That's the buyer behavior. Now we're combining the sellers and the buyers together, where sellers aren't hitting the market in the same way. So there's less properties on the market. There's less competition for sellers. So sellers, if you're thinking about it and we're coming in, we have a mild winter or at least maybe a late winter, consider these type of things, because it is nice to put your house on the market when there's not 20 homes to pick from and there's only 3, right? Those type of things can help you as a seller. Less selection when buyer activity is strong can really help the type of offers that you get, so long as you're priced correctly. Right now, we are in the downward trend. There is less competition in the marketplace. Tons of buyers are out there. It's not saying that there's less selection. You'll need one house to buy, the one you like. So still keep an eye on the market, keep an eye on what is available. But right now the selection is going down. So sellers should definitely take this graph into heart, that if they were thinking about selling later on in the year, you might want to consider sooner than later, because right now competition is lower. And you can see time and time again, what happens is everybody waits until the end of April, and then now competition increases. Sometimes it's nice to be the only person in the neighborhood who's selling, because then you have more active buyers who don't have the selection and can write stronger offers. Last but not least, new listings. So you can see it's a little bit on the downward trend there. That's why you see the active inventory going down. I didn't do videos on how many people are pulling their homes off the market, because time and time again, it's been on the low side, but you can see it's a little bit on the downward trend. It's not holding, it's not increasing. You can see by about May, it kind of held, but then it's on this little bit of a downward trend, a lot more than this time last year. That's why we're seeing activity more than this time last year, but it is a little bit on that downward trend. We do anticipate that to increase as we get into elections, as we get into Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and then it'll all start back over again. But this is where you start to see that active inventory go down, is because less sellers are hitting the marketplace. Overall takeaway right now for mid-October, buyers are still super active. The weather is super nice. Interest rates have been going down compared to the earlier part of this year. Spiked up a little bit, but still lower than earlier in the year. So that's really nice. Buyers are out in the market. A lot of people's leases are up, so they're switching to home ownership. So buyer activity is actually holding pretty steady. Listing activity is starting to go down as we get into the winter months, but overall it's still pretty active, and it is active, more active than this time last year. And we think that next year is going to be the same way, more active next year than this year. For the latest insight, tips, and market updates for the Northern Nevada real estate market, be sure to hit subscribe. We'll do weekly updates to keep you informed of what's the latest. Also be sure to explore our Northern Nevada house search.